You're about to deliver a budget in almost unprecedented circumstances. We could be on the cusp of an economic global crisis caused by coronavirus. What do you think the economic impact could be?
Well, I think the first thing to say is that obviously I understand people are anxious about this. And the good news is that we're well prepared. And from an economic perspective in particular, we come at this in a very strong position. If you look at our unemployment figures, we're at record lows, record numbers of people are in work. Wages have been rising at a pretty rapid pace for the last couple of years. So we start in a good place. And that's important because that means that we can take whatever steps are necessary. Now, the range of scenarios that might happen, but what people should know is I'm working hard with the team to make sure that we have the interventions required to help anyone through a difficult period, first and foremost supporting public services, but also helping vulnerable people and indeed businesses to get through anything that might be coming our way.
I'm keen to sort of unpick some of those potential interventions. You're talking there about public services. Are you ready to give more money to the NHS, for example?
Absolutely. We stand ready to give the NHS whatever it needs.
So there could be like an emergency funding package for the NHS if necessary?
We've already deployed funds to the NHS, both for vaccine development and immediate response. So that's already happened, as you would expect. And I think it's important to remember that we're able to do that because of the fact that we're in a strong position today, right? It's because of responsible management of public finances over the past several years that I can sit here and tell you, yes, I can take whatever steps are necessary to help us get through this, because of those decisions that we made in the past. And I think that's just a helpful reminder about the importance of responsible economic management. But I said that the economy is in a good place and we will get through this.
On business, something else that you mentioned, it's going to be a really difficult time for business. We've seen stock markets falling, Flybe's collapsed. Some people are saying that worst case scenarios, 1 in 5 of us could be off work sick. Are you prepared to intervene to help businesses that might be struggling?
Well, I'll talk a little bit more about it on Wednesday, obviously, but you're right, this could be a challenging period for businesses. So, as you said, if 20% of your workforce is not able to come to work and you can't do what you normally do, that is going to have an impact. But it will be an impact for a temporary period of time. I think that's the key thing. So,
but you're ready to step in if necessary.
I take my responsibility seriously to make sure what do we need to do to ease the burden on business over that temporary period of time to make sure that they have access to the cash flow that they need to bridge through a difficult period so that they can emerge on the other side strong and ready to get back to normal.
So you could effectively bail out businesses, a bit like in the financial crisis.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily, I think bailout is not necessarily the right word, but there are policy levers we can take to ease the short-term burden on businesses' cash flow. Mm-hmm. And these are businesses that we think are viable, sustainable, that have a bright future, but that are going to have a temporary period of disruption, and that's where our interventions should be focused.
Businesses will have spent months dealing with the coronavirus. They may then be faced with a situation, or they will then be faced with a situation where they have months to then adjust to what will be the biggest change in their trading relationships for a generation at a time when they're already struggling, potentially after coronavirus. Can you see a situation where you may extend the Brexit transition period to help businesses?
No, I think very, very clearly the Prime Minister has been clear that we don't want to extend the transition period. I think people are fed up of having more delays and people not doing what they say in this regard. And again, the good news is that we've got off to a good start. The negotiations have started in earnest. Our team have been very well prepared for a while, and a lot of the work that we did last year preparing for leaving the European Union, it is very helpful and valuable in this regard, and we've already started that work this year to make sure everyone's ready for those new trading relationships.
But at the same time, the situation has changed potentially because of coronavirus. It's going to be a really tough time for businesses, as you've outlined. They'll be on the front line of dealing with what could become a pandemic. Boris Johnson famously once said, F business. Is that what you're preparing to do by not contemplating extending the transition?
I think, first and foremost, I passionately believe, as does the government in general, about the importance of a dynamic, free enterprise business economy in this country. First and foremost, because that's what's going to drive growth, that's what's going to raise living standards, that's what creates jobs for people, and ultimately pays the taxes that then fund all our public services. So I passionately believe in making sure that we support business. But when it comes to new trading relationships, that work has been going on for quite a while. We've been very clear and transparent with business about those, and we are actively helping them to manage that transition. And we've got, the good news is we've got a long time before we get to that point.
Okay, let's move on to the budget. Something that I know that you've been focusing on over the last few weeks. You're announcing some new money to tackle flooding. Just explain what's the plan.
Well, we've said previously that we are ambitious when it comes to investing in this country's infrastructure, and flooding is a part of that. What we're announcing today is a doubling in cash terms of the amount of money that we spend on flood defences in this country. It will go up to just over £5 billion. That's a double the amount of the current programme. It's going to pay for around 2,000 different flood schemes around the country. It's going to protect over 300,000 homes. We've all either in our constituencies as MPs or watching on TV seen the devastation wreaked on communities by flooding. This will make an enormous difference to people's lives, and I think it's absolutely the right thing to do. And this is something that wherever you live, whether in the southwest or the northeast, this impacts you. This investment will make a difference.
I mean, some of these people, though, who've seen their homes flooded, have suffered multiple times. They've heard the promises from governments before. Why should they trust that they should be any different?
Well, in general, I'm very keen to make sure that we deliver on our promises. Trust is important. We said a lot of things in the election campaign or in our manifesto, and what you'll see next week in the budget in general is a government that believes in delivering its promises, doing what it says. This was part of it. We said we would increase investment in flood defences. We're going to deliver that. That's what I'm announcing today. But you're right about places that have been flooded repeatedly. So in addition to the announcement on more flood defences, I'm also announcing today an extra £200 million to fund flood resilience in particular communities across the country that seem to suffer from repeated flooding. And that's something that local areas have asked for, so they'll be able to get support for them as a local community to help build their own resilience plans, whether it's urban drainage, whether it's better coordination between local authorities. And I think that money will be, again, very welcome by communities where, as you said, this seems to be happening on a regular basis.
You talked about the manifesto and some of the promises in the election. A big part of that was kind of levelling up, so moving resources away from London. Is that something that you're looking at in the budget? I mean, could you kind of move the Treasury to the north?
Yeah, absolutely. We believe in making sure that wherever you live in this country, there's opportunity for you. That's what levelling up means in practice. It's not just about building a road here or a railway station there. It's about ensuring that everyone can fulfil their dreams, right? And it's about spreading that opportunity. I want to make sure the Treasury's at the front foot of that. We are, driving economic policy in this country. It's important that we have a presence everywhere in this country. So we will have a new economic campus in the north, led by the Treasury, where about a fifth of our headcount over time will move. We'll be joined by members from other economic-facing departments, and we will also be opening offices in Northern Ireland and Wales to complement the one that we have in Scotland as well. I think that's absolutely the right thing to do, and it will be, it's a sign of our intent on delivering on this agenda.
OK, now you took over from Sajid Javid as Chancellor just 3 weeks ago. One of the things that you inherited from him are the fiscal rules, these kind of self-imposed limits on how much a government can borrow. Are you going to keep them?
Look, first of all, I believe strongly in the importance of sound and responsible management of public finances, right? And as we just talked about, it's important that we have that so that we can respond to things like coronavirus. If you look at our track record over the past several years, we managed to bring a borrowing figure that was £150 billion, 10% of GDP, down to the lowest level in 20 years.
This is quite a straight question.
Yeah, well obviously, you'll hear from the budget next week. But what I would say is, I strongly believe in the importance of sound fiscal management, responsible management of the public finances. You will always get that from a Conservative government, but obviously you'll hear more on Wednesday. At
the same time, we're trying to work out who you are, what kind of Chancellor you're going to be, where your instincts are. I mean, it sounds to me like you're minded to keep the fiscal rules. I said,
we've got a budget on Wednesday, so we'll be able to talk about it after that. But I think the importance of responsible economic management is key to me personally. But we do want to deliver on all the promises that we made to people. So and I said we want to level up across the country. We want to invest in public services. We want to unleash the potential of our businesses. We've got an exciting agenda, and we will deliver on all of those.
So if you do want to have sound economic management, something that you've been talking about a lot during the interview, you're going to have to choose, aren't you, between balancing the books through raising taxes or cutting spending. So where are your instincts? Are you someone who is like a big spender, or are you like a low tax kind of guy? Where's your instincts?
Yeah, my instincts are to deliver on the things that we said, right? I believe in repaying people's trust. I think over the last few years, people have been let down by people not doing what they
that's
are
your
saying
politician's
they're going to do.
That's your politician's
answer. But that's important. But that is important.
So where are your instincts?
So my instincts on that. So you ask about tax, right? We said actually in the campaign we believe in those on lower incomes should pay less tax. So you might rightly expect me to focus on that. We've talked about national insurance thresholds. We've talked about raising the national living wage to this year starting one of the largest cash increases in its history. So those are my priorities: helping those on the lowest paid, keep more of their money through lower taxes, keep the cost of living down, and whilst at the same time, yes, investing in public services that people rely on and investing in infrastructure so that opportunity is spread across the country. That's what I want to deliver as Chancellor for this country. That's the government's agenda.
I mean, one way you could raise quite a lot of money is through fuel duty, which has been frozen since 2010. Is that something that you're looking at raising?
Again, I'm not going to be able to go through every measure with you.
It's been speculated a lot.
Before every budget, there's speculation about any number of things. But as I said, my job is to balance the books, but deliver on the agenda that we said. Okay. It's about protecting people's economic security in the short term, delivering on the promises we made, and laying that foundation for future growth. That's how to think about it.
Last week, we had a slightly extraordinary situation where Sajid Javid laid out the budget that he would have given if he'd been Chancellor. Low taxes was at the heart of it. He wanted to cut income tax, he wanted to cut stamp duty. What did you make of those proposals? Do you think they were good ideas, or...?
Well, look, Sajid is a good friend of mine. He's a mentor of mine, and he was my first boss actually when I got my first ministerial job, and it was a real pleasure to work with him in the Treasury. Obviously, look, there's speculation always about what might or might not be in a budget.
Well, you'd forgive us if the person who was Chancellor has laid out the budget he was going to give.
And he's entitled to say that. My priority is to, obviously, as you said, I want to have sound economic management, but I also want to deliver on our promises. That's what's guiding me as I come to my first budget. It's providing that economic security for people, delivering on the promises that we made, and laying that foundation for future growth and prosperity. That's my guiding principle for the budget.
We talked about Sajid Javid. You of course got the job after he quit in the reshuffle. Now, he said that he quit because the conditions that were attached to staying was a requirement that I replace all of my political advisors. I do not believe any self-respecting minister would accept those conditions. You accepted those conditions, so are you a self-respecting minister?
Remember, Sajid and I are very in different places because he had an existing team of people, which I didn't. So that obviously was a different question for him to confront. But my approach to it is one where I absolutely think close working between the Prime Minister's office and the Chancellor's office is a good thing.
It's a difference between close working and saying you have to sack all your advisors, though.
So, but he's in a different spot. He had an existing set of advisors. I come to it fresh. So for me to be able to build my own team, which is what I'm doing, but have that team work closely with the Prime Minister's team, is absolutely a good thing. I mean, it's slightly odd that anyone thinks that's a strange thing. We have an ambitious agenda that we want to deliver for this country about levelling up opportunity everywhere, unleashing the potential of our businesses, of our people. We're much more able to deliver that if we have a close working relationship between the Chancellor's office and the Prime Minister's office. That's what we have, and I think, as I said, that's a very good thing.
Did you hesitate at all before accepting it?
No, it's an enormous privilege to have the job, and I now feel great responsibility to deliver on these things. I took part in an election campaign, had the opportunity to make our case to the British people about what we wanted to do, and I'm now in the very fortunate position of being able to deliver on those things. This first budget will start that work, and then we can look forward to a parliament where we are able to really say that yes, we did level up opportunity across this country. Wherever you live, whether you're in the southwest in the rural area, or whether you're in a town in the northeast, you feel that your future is better and brighter as a result of the decisions that I and the government have made. That's a fantastic opportunity.
You described Sajid Javid as a mentor, so has he given you any advice since taking the job?
Sajid and I have been in touch, so he has always given me advice.
What's the advice he's given you?
More on the personal side than on the policy side.
What sort of?
Try and find some time for my family, which I must say over the past few weeks I have not managed to deliver on, but hopefully soon.
Now, it's difficult, the circumstances where you came into the job, and your reputation, it does feel, is at stake here. Your political opponents will claim that you're somebody who is effectively under the thumb of Number 10, that this is a budget that will have Dominic Cummings' fingerprints all over it. I mean, what's your response to that?
Yeah, this is the government's budget. Right? We have an agenda to deliver. We talked about levelling up opportunity across this country. This budget will deliver on those promises. We talked about laying a foundation for growth and prosperity. This budget will deliver on those promises. We talked about investing in public services. This budget will deliver on those promises. So I feel very confident that people will be able to judge this budget on its merits, and it's a budget that will be good for this country.
How have you found it personally? I mean, I'm quite interested to know how you found it, because there's been a lot of scrutiny on a budget, as any Chancellor delivering their first budget would find. But there's been a particular pressure on you. Has it been irritating, or upsetting, difficult? Or?
No, I mean, it's been tiring. We're working hard. We've got a lot to do in a short space of time, but together with the team, and I've been, I must say, incredibly fortunate to be supported by a fantastic department who have risen admirably to the challenge of supporting me to deliver this budget, to deliver the Prime Minister's agenda for the country. That's what we're doing. Is it a lot of work? Of course it's a lot of work, and that's a strain, but it's also an enormous opportunity. It's the first budget of a new government in a new parliament, the first budget outside the European Union in almost half a century. We stand on the cusp of something really quite exciting here. Are there short-term challenges with coronavirus? Yes, there are. Are we daunted by them? Absolutely not. We're going to rise to them, we'll get through them, and then we can look forward to a bright future. We're just at the beginning of that, and that's what's keeping us all going. It's fantastic.
Okay, and while I've got you, I'm keen to ask about another story that is quite big at the minute, of course, in Westminster. Priti Patel, the Home Secretary, facing bullying allegations, which she denies from 3 separate government departments where she's worked. Is it a good look for the Prime Minister to be standing by somebody who is facing accusations from multiple people that she's been bullying?
I think, look, first of all, I personally have a very good relationship with Priti and enjoy working with her, and I think she's doing a fantastic job as Home Secretary, right? She's got a very important job delivering on the things that we said, notably keeping us all safe, right? With more 20,000 more police officers, making sure that terrorists serve their proper sentences, putting in a new borders and immigration policy. Those are important things that she's delivering well. But we take any allegations like this seriously, as you would expect us to. That's why the Prime Minister's asked the Cabinet Office to have a look at this matter and establish the facts, and it's absolutely right that that happens, and we should let that inquiry take its course.
But why should the fact that she's delivering on the government's agenda, that she's doing a good job at work, why should that have any bearing on the bullying allegations?
I say we take the allegations seriously, and that's why the Cabinet Office are looking at them and establishing the facts of the case.
Okay. Just finally, we're here in number 11. You've been here, the boss here, for a couple of weeks now. As you were saying, quite a tiring time and quite an extraordinary time. How have you been keeping going? You've been fuelled by some late-night Nando's?
Late-night Nando's, yes. Yes, and Skittles and lots of other things. But yeah, no, it's a fantastic team, right?
How hot do you take your Nando's sauce?
I got medium hot.
Okay.
Medium hot. But I get the extra hot sauce for the chips on the side. But actually, I've made sure that the team are getting more broccoli, which no one was really that excited about other than me and my wife at home, that I was still eating some greens on the late night sessions. But look, as I said, we're excited about what we have to do. It's a fantastic opportunity ahead of us, and I'm confident that we as a government, we as a country, will rise to this challenge. We'll get through it, and all the exciting plans that we're going to start laying the foundations for in this budget are going to pay enormous dividends over the next few years. And as I said, wherever you live in this country, our goal is to make sure that you feel that your dreams will be realised. Your aspirations are ones that we as a government will support. Your life is going to be better as a result of the actions that we take. And Wednesday's budget will be the first step on that journey.
Okay, thank you very much for being on the programme.
Thank you.